Hey everybody, welcome back to another Dota breakdown, and in this video I'll be discussing a little bit about item builds, more specifically for the carry role, to help you guys understand how to buy the correct items and what is the thought process you need to have to succeed in your games and buying the correct items at the right time. Specifically for this video, I'll be using an example of Tundra versus Spirit. This was a game played in Dream League group stage. Season 28, so it's kind of recent. And if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up, and it helps this video get to more people. So let's just dive right in. Before I get to actually the replay, I just want to give you guys a clean thought process to how to think about when you're playing a hero, to how to itemize, especially on carry. So usually you want to have some sort of farming mechanism on carry, because usually it's your job to be able to kill ancient creeps as fast as possible in the game. And not only ancient creeps, right? To clear jungle camps and to be able to push lanes as efficiently as possible. Usually it revolves around one hero being able to do that very well. Nowadays in Dota, usually all three cores have a farming mechanism. But usually on carry, you want to be able to buy an item that can help you farm faster. Easy examples to understand this is Anti-Mage buys Battle Fury. It's a farming item, right? What else? Bloodseeker buys Maelstrom, farming item. Faceless Void buys Maelstrom, farming item. You could argue, oh, Faceless Void can also buy Battle Fury. Sure, he can also buy Battle Fury, and it's the same thing, right? He's buying an item so he can farm faster. Or the hero has some sort of mechanism in his arsenal that makes him farm fast. As an example is Naga. Naga basically, she has an innate manta, right? She has a spell that creates illusions, and all her spells are designed for her to be able to farm fast. So she doesn't have to buy a Battle Fury. Usually you see Naga's buy first item Manta. Why is that? Because it makes her faster, gives her more stats, and she can farm more efficiently, right? Naga's farming item is a Manta. Not only is the farming item the Manta, but the Manta also gives her a Dispel. So it's also a defensive item where she can dispel some debuffs and stay alive in the fight. Other heroes just farm around their spells, right? Slark, he doesn't really have a farming mechanism. I know it looks kind of weird because the game is paused, but Slark, he doesn't really have a farming mechanism, and you don't really buy a farming item because you just farm with your Q, right? So what I would say for you guys is to identify how your hero will farm fast and try to itemize to make that even faster, right? To buff that. So the way you itemize on Anti-Mage is you buy Battle Fury because this spell uses mana, and you need to have this mana regen up, and you also need to have HP regen to be able to tank the creeps in the jungle, and you need to be able to have damage to be able to kill the creeps. So Battle Fury is the perfect item for Anti-Mage in that regard, right? You farm Blink from camp to camp, and you farm them. As an example, a different example is Medusa. What does Medusa need to be able to farm camps? Medusa just needs damage, right? She will just farm the camps. Since Medusa is a slow hero, on range heroes, ideally you can buy a Yasha. Yasha is a really useful item for you to walk faster, right? It gives you movement speed. You come here to items, you can check. It will give movement speed. Sorry, I'll just type Yasha here. It gives agility and movement speed. And as an agility carry, you want to have agility and movement speed, right? Because what these things mean, strength, agility, intelligence, universal, is that when you buy an item that gives you stats, if you are an agility hero and you buy an agility item, for every point of stats in agility that you buy, you will get 1 extra damage as a bonus. So on agility heroes, the more agility you buy, the more damage bonus you will get. So that's kind of how it works. That's why agility heroes mainly buy agility items, because they get bonus damage from them. Like, it's kind of a double whammy. I can give one more example is, let's say SF. He doesn't really buy farming items because he doesn't really need them, because he has raises. He can just farm with raises, and he also has his passive, which reduces armor. And he also has his innate, which gives him more damage. So it really depends on the hero that you're playing. I would definitely look into hero-specific guides before going into a game to actually know what your item build is. But nowadays, item builds don't really vary that much, at least like the first 1 or 2 items from heroes. Usually it's either a farming item or an item that makes you have impact early. PA, she buys Battle Fury. Why? Because she has a blink spell, and she just blinks around killing everything. PL, what does he buy? Usually people buy Ags. It's the item that gives him farming potential, right? Usually you can follow this logic. Some heroes are outliners, usually the heroes that have illusions like Terrorblade and Naga, because they kind of already have an innate farming spell. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way, just so you guys understand. And specifically, let's look at this game where we have Anti-Mage versus Alchemist. So, following that logic, Anti-Mage will buy Battle Fury, right? If you see Yatoro's item build, he already has everything queued up, and he has plus 29 items here queued up. So he knows exactly what he's going to buy. And how does he know exactly what he's going to buy? So the easiest way to think about it is that Anti-Mage, the only Anti-Mage item build that exists, at least for now, is Battle Fury into Manta. And then after Manta, you can decide which item you will buy. And the way you decide which item you will buy after Manta is that you need to understand the timing of the game, what heroes can you kill, what heroes can you be killed by, and how is your hero going to have impact in the game. I know it's a lot, but stay with me, and it will be very easy for me to show in this replay. At the same time, Alchemist. What item does Alchemist want to buy? Usually Alchemist buys Radiance. Why does Alchemist buy Radiance and not Battle Fury? Because this hero benefits a lot from being tanky. And he doesn't have a blink spell, so he can just walk around the map, just farming everything with Radiance instead of Battle Fury. It's more effective to buy Radiance on Alchemist than it is to buy Battle Fury. And Alchemist is also a hero that has a lot of regen, right? His ult gives him HP regen. So the HP regen from the Battle Fury is kind of useless for Alchemist. So that's kind of the main reason why you see Alchemist buy Radiance. Because he gets the Radiance really early, and it combos really well with his Grieval's Greed, and it's probably like the most farming effective item for him to buy. So let's jump ahead. I won't really get into specifics about what boots you need to buy. I think usually you can follow this rule, where if you're a melee hero and you're a melee strength hero, usually you're low armor. So buying phase boots is good for you because it will give you armor, and you will get the extra value out of phase boots for a melee hero. If you're a melee hero and an agility hero, usually you want to buy power treads, because if you power tread swap, it's very value for your hero. So you see Anti-Mage buying treads into Battle Fury, and you see Alchemist buying phase into Soul Ring for mana regen into Radiance, right? When should I buy Soul Ring, or when should I not buy it? Usually out of feel, you can tell if your hero is a hero that needs mana or not. And especially Alchemist, since he has an HP regen spell, he doesn't really lose that much HP from the Soul Ring, if you understand what I'm saying, right? Like he doesn't have a problem having high HP. Some heroes have a problem being high HP. An example, Muerta Carry. Muerta Carry doesn't buy Soul Ring because she has no way of really regenning up. She doesn't really buy Lifesteal, and she doesn't have any spells that actually give her HP regen. So you don't want to be losing HP for free, right? Like here, he just pressed Soul Ring, and then he farmed the camp together with the wave. So we're going to see a lot of fighting. If you haven't watched the how to farm very fast, my latest video, I made a video about how to farm the most effective way in Dota. So I won't be covering up farming patterns in this game. Let's just be watching what they buy with their items. And I also don't want this replay to go too long, or it's going to be kind of boring. So let's just skip to when they get their items. Of course, Anti-Mage, he starts with the Cornucopia. I think his courier died or something. Yeah, starts the Cornucopia. Why? Because it gives him a little bit of everything, right? Sustain to be able to play the lane. You don't really want to start with the damage items because they don't really help you sustain in the lane. And blah, blah, blah. They will farm. So you will see these heroes get their farming item, right? Alchemist. Anti-Mage almost Battle Fury. And he's going to do the classic, the Battle Fury into Manta, right? For the newbies out there that don't really get it, why does Anti-Mage buy Manta? Because the Manta combos really well with agility heroes. Because you get the extra damage from the agility, you move faster, you attack faster. Manta gives you everything an agility hero wants. And it also gives you the active, which the illusions can burn mana. So it's even more value for Anti-Mage, where he can blink, use Manta on top of someone that's stunned or something, burn all their mana, and use his ult. So it combos really well with the hero, right? The thought process being, what does my hero need? What are the items available that I should buy? Am I agility hero? You know, all these things, they come into consideration when you think about what items you should buy. And also the fact that you can use Manta to push out waves, right? The Go Shove is very strong in Dota. So that's basically the main reason why he will buy Manta. And you see right after, he will have a Butterfly queued up. So the way you need to think about Butterfly is an item that gives you physical damage timing. If you're playing against physical damage enemies that they rely on auto-attacking you to do damage, as example, Alchemist, he needs to hit you to do damage. If Alchemist is playing against a hero that has Butterfly, he's not that happy because the enemy has a lot of miss chance. And it becomes very hard for the enemy to deal with the butterfly timing, right? You kind of become quote unquote immortal. You cannot die to the Alchemist if you play your cards correctly, right? So he sees that he's having a good start, and the Alchemist will not be even close to be able to buy MKB in the near future. So the earlier you get the butterfly, the better. You don't really want to buy butterfly when the enemy already has like a demon edge, for example. If the enemy has demon edge in his inventory, he can buy a Daedalus or an MKB. So if you buy butterfly, the enemy is going to think, oh, he has a butterfly, I'm just going to buy MKB. So then the timing that you had with your item, that was the butterfly, it's just gone. It's just going to be useless. You're going to buy butterfly, and then you're going to click the enemy, see he has an MKB, you're going to be like, I need another item, right? So you want to avoid these sort of situations where you get to an item, and then you're not strong enough to be able to actually do something, right? You want to be able to get an item, and then actually have impact with that item. Not buy an item, and then keep on farming, right? You can do that with your first item, but if you're playing carry in this meta, you're not really allowed to farm 30 minutes without doing anything. You want to at least be able to connect last to a team fight, and use your ult or something, or just do something. So you see Alchemist, his next item is Blink Dagger. Why is he buying Blink Dagger? Because he needs to have impact in the game. He doesn't want to try to outscale the enemy. He wants to be able to have impact early. This hero, he benefits a lot from the blink, so he can blink and use a stun on someone. And it also combos really well with his Q, so he can always just solo kill heroes. What does Anti-Mage not buy a blink? Because he already has a blink, right? He doesn't need a blink. He already has this item in his spells, you could say. Why is Alchemist not buying a Manta? Because he thinks that buying a Manta at this point is a little bit too defensive. That his team needs him to be able to go in and press his spells and be tanky and have position. Give Doom position in the fight so he can actually press Doom. You know, give the supports position in the fight so they can actually press their spells. And of course, Blink is not only for team fighting, right? You can blink around the map and farm too, so it's not the end of the world. And now he is thinking, see, he sees a team fight, he has his item, he has his timing, he wants to have impact. Even though it might not be the best fight for him, right? He TPs in and dies. That's his thought process, is I'm going to buy Blink to be able to have impact in the game and not just keep on farming. So he goes next for the Manta, right? Why does he want a Manta? Because he feels like he needs to be able to dispel the enemy's spells. So multiple enemies have debuffs that they will apply to you. The easy example is in this game, Ember Spirit. What will Ember Spirit do? He will press Chains on you and he will press Vessel. So you have 2 debuffs you can already purge. So purges are very good against Ember, Lotus Orb, Manta, BKB. All these items are very good against Ember. Why does he not buy BKB first? Because if you buy BKB too early, as you can see, the BKB decreases in how much it lasts. So it goes from 9, 8, 7, 6 for every time you press it. So you don't want to have that early of a BKB, especially on a core like Alchemist. You want to be able to press the Manta off cooldown to not only be able to dispel, but be able to farm as well. So the timing just won't really add up for him to buy a BKB this early. If he kind of buys BKB, he's going to be all in on this BKB fight, and if he loses it, the game is kind of over. So he goes for the Manta, which gives him a little bit more wiggle room in the fights, and it helps him to farm faster, right? You move faster, you have the active, and you get a purge. That's basically why he's buying Manta. It's the same reason why Anti-Mage buys Manta. Not only does it combo well with illusions, but he gets an extra dispel for some random spell that in the game might be hard for him to deal with. Let's say he can dispel Cold Snap, right? In this game, it's not really amazing, but if the enemy was on the enemy team, he could just dispel the chains and just blink out, right? So following that, we'll see that Anti-Mage has BKB queued after the Manta because he thinks that the only way he can really have impact in this game is if he has BKB, because the enemy has way too many spells that disable him. So even though he has this spell, which gives him a lot of magic resistance, right? If you check his magic resistance, he has 57% magic resistance. But it doesn't really matter if you have magic resistance if you just cannot hit anybody. So he thinks that he's going to need a BKB. He's going to be able to blink in, press BKB. Alchemist will not be able to kill him. Invoker spells will not be able to touch him. He will be able to hit the egg without being debuffed by the Phoenix. The Shaman will not be able to control him, right? That's his whole thought process is, even though I have all this magic resistance and I have all these items, I cannot actually hit anybody in the fight. And if I mess up once, I will die. So the way he sees it is, he will wait for someone to initiate. He will blink in with his BKB, commit while he has BKB, kite around, maybe save his Manta for a second time. He will jump in so he has a dispel and then take the fight from there. That's his thought process in this game. And we see that the Alchemist is kind of far behind. And a surprising thing about this game is that Tundra is going to win this game. Even though they're so far behind, they will still win this game. So you see, kind of a throw-in for the Ember here. There's a super throw. Anti-Mage will continue to continuously just to keep farming and farm as fast as he can and try to join some fight with his TP or something. And you see Alchemist has the same thought process, right? You cannot really hit anybody if you don't have BKB at this point in the game, right? There's way too many spells. Ringmaster ult, Snap ult, Ember spells, almost all the primal spells, right? Except his ult. So he needs to buy BKB to be able to have impact in the team fights. He needs to be able to go first and press BKB and fight. So after you've reached the BKB timing, it's where things get a little bit more interesting, right? You start to think about what are the other spells that actually matter in the fight? What do I actually need? So the Alchemist will buy Shard. Why will he buy Shard? So it can combo with his Facet. So Unstable Concoction and Berserk Potion recharge faster when in Chemical Rage. So he thinks that this is the most value item that he can buy to actually have impact in the game. And I would probably kind of agree. I think this Facet is kind of broken. It's at 50% for the Berserk Potion and 35% for the Unstable Concoction. And now let's see what he will buy. So usually Alchemists at this point, since this hero does physical damage, AC is a really value item on this hero. So because it decreases the enemy's armor and it also increases your attack speed. So you basically just do more physical damage, right? I think also Basher is an interesting item because he can bash heroes, right? On melee heroes, the Basher chance is higher than on ranged heroes. You never see a ranged hero really buy Basher because it's not really value. So Anti-Mage will finish his Butterfly, and then he will try to look for a fight. Alchemist is ready with all his items. He's smoked, trying to fight. A little unfortunate, not the best initiation. Anti-Mage joins the fight with his Butterfly, right? He has his item. He wants to be able to fight. Oh, but the enemy has Doom. He can't really fight. He got Doom. Of course, you know, maybe they killed the Doom first, and he doesn't have to deal with the Doom, right? It's kind of a gamble that you take. You don't want to just think that the enemy has some sort of spell and that you just cannot play, right? There's always a way around it in Dota, and itemizing is one way that you can go around it. So let's see what the Alchemist item choice will be next. And then he goes for the AC. So again, why the AC? Because all his spells are physical. And his auto attacks, the way this hero does damage is hitting people. So he wants to have attack speed and he wants the enemy to have less armor. So AC is probably one of the most value items for Alchemist. Why does Alchemist also benefit from AC? Because he's a strength hero. Strength heroes have usually low armor because they don't buy agility items. And agility is the main stats that gives you armor, right? If you look here, 9.5 armor and 57 attack speed that he is getting from his agility. Anti-Mage is getting 26.9 armor because he has 2 agility items, right? So AC is not very value on Anti-Mage if you think about it. Because he already has a lot of armor. And the way he does damage is not exactly through right clicks, is he does a lot of magic damage with Mana Break. And he also does a lot of damage with his ult, which is also magical. So, yeah, he will buy BKB because he thinks that he needs to be able to not get disabled by the Shaman. Alchemist going into AC for his next item. And probably after AC, he will buy some sort of either Basher or Lincolns in this game. Why Basher or Lincolns? Because Lincolns will always block the Primal for being able to initiate on him with his ult. So one thing to think about is how can the enemy kill you? And the way the Primal can start the fight is he will blink and ult you, right? If you have Lincolns, you kind of block that possibility from Primal. Primal needs to buy another item to be able to remove your Lincolns. So that's a popular choice, especially against Primal Beast. As you see, Invoker is buying Lincolns because he doesn't want to get targeted by the Primal. And you also see Anti-Mage buying Lincolns as well after BKB. Why does Anti-Mage buy Lincolns? Because he does not want to get targeted by the Doom. He doesn't want Doom to be able just to press his Doom on him and then he dies. He wants to be able to have that cushion where if Doom presses Doom on him, it will activate the Lincolns and he will get like a jail out of free card, right? That's the logic of the Lincolns versus Doom, is you want to make Doom's life very hard for him to press ult on you, since it's such a long animation, right? He needs to lift his hands and then press Doom. So it's very hard for Doom to play against Lincolns. And it's also hard for Alchemist to play against Lincolns because when you have Lincolns, he cannot press his stun on you, right? This is a targeted spell, and if he presses it on you, you will not get stunned. So let's just keep on going. Anti-Mage buying Lincolns next. And you see after that he has Basher queued up. Why does the Anti-Mage want to buy Basher? Because the mechanic of being able to blink stun someone is very strong. So he can blink, press Abyssal on someone, which is the upgraded Basher, press Manta, and then combo with his ult, and he can just solo kill any hero, right? He can initiate himself. So if he sees the opening, he can just go for it and not have to rely on his team. It's very good with the Anti-Mage. It combos very well. It gives him HP, gives him a way to be able to stun people through BKB, right? That's what usually the Basher does, is that you can stop people in their BKBs. And since he sees that Alchemist has a BKB, Basher is very value versus Alchemist. And you see that both these heroes, neither of them have bought MKB, even though both of them have evasion, right? Anti-Mage has evasion, and so does Alchemist with Radiance. And why is that, right? Usually, if you trade one of these items for an MKB, if you trade the AC for MKB, you're just going to be very weak against the other heroes on the enemy team, right? It's not only a vacuum where it's only you and the enemy carry. You also think about the other heroes in the game. You don't really need MKB to be able to kill a Ringmaster or a Snap or an Ember. So the MKB is only really useful to be killing Anti-Mage. And Radiant probably think that they can kill this Anti-Mage without having MKB. You know, you need to be able to identify, are you the one that's supposed to kill the enemy carry? If yes, then you need to fit an MKB into your build at some point. So Anti-Mage doesn't think that he needs MKB to be able to kill Alchemist. And I kind of agree. The way Anti-Mage wants to fight is that he wants to blow up some random hero, and he wants to keep draining their mana slowly to be able to finish them off at some point. So you don't really need an MKB to be able to execute that plan, right? So that's kind of like the main process that people go through, is it your job to be able to kill the enemy carry? If yes, then you should probably buy an MKB. If not, if you're supposed to just kill the enemy heroes and you don't really care, then that's fine. So he will go into Basher, into Abyssal, which is very good on the melee heroes, right? You get to blink, stun someone, and you also stun through BKB. And also Basher it increases your kill potential so much, right? Especially on supports. You just randomly bash them, they just get stunned and they just die, right? So very value item for Alchemist. And let's see what he's gonna replace his Soul Ring with. I'm not really here to judge the fights or if teams played well or not. I'm just here trying to understand the thought process behind the items that they buy. He still hasn't bought his item, so maybe he's not sure if he wants to buy Abyssal or not. No, he buys the full Abyssal. All right. So next, if you just pause and look at his inventory, his inventory's full, right? So what makes the most sense is maybe him just upgrading his blink so he keeps all these items the way they are. And then probably after is he will trade out the Radiance for another item that has more impact, maybe a Daedalus or something like that. Or maybe he can also replace his boots, right? Since if he upgrades his blink to an agility blink, it gives him a lot more mobility. So maybe he can replace his boots with agility blink and he can buy one more item here. Which item will it be? Then he'll probably debate between some sort of purge item. Maybe he needs to be able to purge this and this from these heroes. He needs to buy Nullifier or something like that. Or he needs to buy a Disperser, which also can purge, right? Then it becomes very creative at the end of the game. Maybe he needs to buy a Refresher so he has 2 BKBs. It becomes very open to what they need. You see Yatoro, he's buying Orchid after his Abyssal. He doesn't really have slots for this. So he's kind of full build right now on Anti-Mage. Maybe he should buy Shard and Ags since those don't really occupy slots. Sorry about that. But he will finish his Abyssal. You see Alchemist has upgraded Blink already in his inventory since he doesn't want to sell any of his items. And then let's just jump ahead to see what they end up buying, right? This is the hard part, is like, which item are you going to replace here, right? Because Anti-Mage kind of has a lot of defensive items. So maybe he could have replaced Butterfly if the Alchemist had MKB, but Alchemist doesn't even have MKB, so the Butterfly is just super value for him. And I think here is where Spirit throw the game. We're all gonna die. Yep. And maybe Alchemist starts buying Ags, right, for his team too. That's another possibility. So if he doesn't want to change his item slots. Well, he'll probably replace Boots or something. Let's see, 5,000 gold. And just like that, Tundra just won the game. I think they might just go Throne here. Hope he doesn't have anything queued up yet. Anti-Mage also kind of just didn't really get past these items, right? He bought his Bloodthorn. Let's see. He replaced Battle Fury. All right. So he replaced his farming item, right? Which at this point in the game, he doesn't really need to farm. He can probably push weight. He pushes ways a little slower, but it doesn't matter that much. And Alchemist is buying a defensive item. He's buying Wind Waker because he feels like he needs this extra Dispel to be able to survive. So he'll probably just replace his boots because Wind Waker is an item that gives movement speed. There you go. So I don't want to go on too long. I know this video is already too long. So thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.